What up? I'm Jake Palumbo, and this is How to Be Rich When You're Not Famous.
I'm Jake Palumbo. I'm a scrub from Tennessee who moved to New York City 12 years ago with about as much chance of making it in the music industry as a farmer has trying to grow corn in Afghanistan. I'm just like you. I had no money, no connects in the music industry. The difference between me and my peers who were trying to break in at the same time is I didn't quit like a little bitch. Instead, I set out to decode the codes and to build my little dirt empire one brick at a time. Since the front door to the music industry was locked, I decided I was gonna find a way to break in through the back window. In 2018, I'm still not famous, but I am happy to report that I'm a few months shy of a decade of surviving off just my career as a producer, engineer, and artist. I'd like to share with you some of the things I've learned, as well as my core philosophies, as well as have an outlet to vent so I don't strangle somebody to death. I'm Jake Palumbo, and this is How to Be Rich When You're Not Famous.
What up? We're back. I apologize in advance. I need a haircut. My hair is only at 50% right now instead of its usual 150%. So when I initially first got the idea for doing the show, I filmed a test clip that we kind of put out as a teaser, talking about the Instagram algorithms and the 10 for 10 rule. We're gonna go to that clip now. It's only about maybe 4 or 5 minutes long. I made sure to wear the same shirt I was wearing in that clip for the sake of continuity. Now, as a disclaimer, I'm not the person who discovered this information. There's plenty of good videos about this out there on YouTube. I just learned this information and applied it, and it helped. So I want to share this with, the people who tune in to see what I'm talking about. And when we get back, we're going to go in just a little bit deeper on a few more fine points of the Instagram algorithm. I apologize in advance for the poor lighting in this clip. It was one of the first things I filmed, and I'm still learning how all this lighting stuff works. But the information, regardless, remains the same. What up? I'm Jake Palumbo, and you're watching How to Be Rich When You're Not Famous. A lot of us Instagram users, myself included, we may experience some confusion sometimes. Like, why did this post that I put up of me eating my dinner or, watching wrestling, why did that get 250 likes? And why did this post, of my show coming up or, my music or something much more important, why did that get 25 or 30 likes when I have almost 10,000 followers? It's things like that that can be confusing and frustrating if you're not aware of how the algorithms work. With Instagram algorithms, you have to remember that the social media, the programmers at these networks, they don't care about us promoting our project. They don't care about, us reaching our audience. They care about the people who are using Instagram, spending as much time on Instagram as humanly possible. And they try to do that by making sure that the content that these people engage with the most, every single time you're scrolling, Instagram is collecting data on what you look at, what you like, what you comment, what hashtags you follow, in order to try to take content that is similar to that and push it up your feed, and take content that is not similar to what you normally interact with and push it down on your feed. Instagram's main algorithm is something I call the 10 for 10 rule. And what that basically means is this, is at the time you make an Instagram post, when you crop the picture, pick the filter, type the caption, and hit send, when it uploads, Instagram is going to audition your post in front of a test audience. And that test audience is going to be comprised of the 10% of your followers that interact with you the most. Basically, your 10% most hardcore supporters and people that follow your content. So Instagram is going to take that post and show it to your 10% most engaged followers for 10 minutes. Now, in that 10 minutes, if that post generates enough, impressions, likes, comments, interaction, then Instagram is going to allow it to graduate a level and be seen by a slightly larger percentage of your followers. As your post grows traction with people liking, commenting, taking a look at it, that's going to determine how the post performs overall. Because if it doesn't perform well enough in those first 10 minutes with your first your most 10% engaged followers, your post is going to get suppressed, and it's going to be seen by even less of your followership. The other thing you really want to pay attention to, and there's a bunch of tools out there to see your Instagram analytics and what your audience is comprised of, male, female, age group, when they're online, things like that. You want to try to figure out when the times when your followers are most likely to be online. Now, I researched this a little bit, and it seems that for the most part, the largest percentage of my followers are on Instagram around 8, 9 in the morning, around 12, 1 o'clock, around 5, 6 o'clock, and around 8 to 9 o'clock. It's weird because that tells me Jake Palumbo fans are employed, and that's an amazing it's an amazing thing I thought we'd never accomplish. But I say that to say, okay, my followers are people, if they're checking their Instagram at these times, at 8 a.m. before they go to work, at 12 or 1 o'clock when they're on their lunch break, at 5 or 6 o'clock we just got out of work and we're going home, 8, 9 o'clock we at the crib winding down. So it makes the most sense for me to try to make my posts during those times, because all my followers are not gonna 100% of my followers are not gonna see my posts unless I pay to sponsor it. So before you get in your feelings and start falling into that death trap of well, people aren't supporting, or people in all likelihood they just never saw your post. Guys, if you've got a question that you would like answered in a future episode for our mail call segments, you can email jakepalumbo@gmail.com. So hopefully after watching that video, you've learned some stuff about, the 10-minute window that your post has in which to live its best life online. One thing I forgot to get into in the first clip is hashtagging and how it is viewed in 2018. These algorithms change year after year in order to make the most complete experience for the Instagram user. Because remember, like I said at the top of the video, they don't care about us reaching our audience. They care about the people who are on Instagram staying on Instagram. And they try to do that by making sure that the content that they see is in line with what they normally would interact with. So the purpose of using a hashtag is to try to lure in anybody who follows a particular hashtag to see your content when they wouldn't have otherwise saw it because they don't follow you yet. Okay, now early on a lot of people figured out that by putting a whole bunch of hashtags, like in our case hashtag beats, hashtag real hip hop, hashtag bangers, whatever hashtag is relevant to your content, a lot of Instagram users noticed that when they put a photo that had hashtags in it as opposed to one that did not have hashtags in it, usually the photo with hashtags got picked up and liked or commented on by more people who don't follow you. Okay, now initially Instagram would allow you to use up to 30 hashtags per post, and I think they still do. It's 25 or 30, somewhere in that neighborhood. But here's the problem, is people figured out early on that if I use all 30 of those hashtags and I tag it with every possible relatable tag possible, I'm gonna get more likes on this picture. And then people took it a step further and started hashtagging things that didn't have anything to do with their post, but they were popular hashtags that had a lot of a lot of traction to them. I'm talking about, like, if I put up a post and I hashtag Migos, hashtag Britney Spears, hashtag tags for likes, hashtag follow for follow, any type of clickbait hashtags that have a lot of posts attached to them but don't necessarily relate to my content is A, spammy behavior, and B, now I'm getting really fucking angry at this phone ringing every 2 minutes. So when people get overzealous with their hashtags, and when they begin attaching hashtags to their picture that have a lot of posts attached to them but are not relevant to their content, eventually Instagram catches wind of this. If you make a post that utilizes 30 hashtags, Instagram's algorithms are going to assume that you are participating in spammy behavior. And using all 30 hashtags is going to cause your post to get pushed down the ladder. Sorry. And even me personally, like I never made posts that utilized all the 30 permissible hashtags, but I would use 15 or 20 of them. And a lot of times I would get into very broad hashtags, like, hashtag hip hop, hashtag NYC, hashtag studio. Because I noticed, and I thought I was doing the right thing at the time. I noticed that when, my posts were tagged, I got more likes and engagement, and I picked up more interaction from people who didn't follow me already. But in 2018, like, Instagram is onto your shit. So if they see that you're using all 30 hashtags, your post is going to get suppressed and pushed down on the grounds that it is potentially spammy. And from what I've read, Instagram has not came out to deny or confirm this, but from what I've read, they kind of want you to use about 5 to 7 hashtags now. It's stuff that is super relevant to your content. Stuff that is if I click that hashtag, I'm going to see a whole bunch of posts that are closely in line with what I'm putting on the internet. Okay, so ODing on your hashtags will work against you as of today, September 26, 2018. Irrelevant hashtags never helped your post to begin with. They did get you more likes, but a lot of times those likes were from bot accounts or, from people who weren't necessarily going to sit down and engage in your content. So I mean, broad hashtags never really helped you to begin with, but now they will actually hurt you. Another thing that was a mistake I made early on was I would edit posts after they were posted for any number of reasons. It could have been I noticed a spelling error I didn't catch the first time. It could have been a hashtag that I wanted to add. It could have been something I forgot to say in the post. But the problem is once your post is out and it's in its 10-minute window, trying to see what its future is going to be as a post, when you edit the post, that throws off the computer. It throws off the algorithms. It throws off the artificial intelligence that is examining your content and trying to figure out what to do with it. Because, it was analyzing it based on this set of text and hashtags, and now you're changing that. If you see something that needs to be edited, you're actually better off deleting the post entirely and redoing it, with new text or new hashtags or whatever the error was in the first place. Because if you edit it once it's been thrown out into the stratosphere of the internet, when you try to edit it, the artificial intelligence is going to get confused and say, hold on a second, and it's going to suppress your post. One thing you should never do, that thing on Instagram where you post one picture and it splits it up into 9 different photos so that when somebody looks at your profile as a whole, the picture looks large. That may look cool, I guess, but there's 2 problems. A, it wrecks your algorithm because Instagram has no idea what to do with this little fraction corner of 1/9 of a post. It doesn't know where to compartmentalize that in terms of your news feed, but also, as people are scrolling your news feed, they're not going to see those 9 pictures in sequential order. And, the only people that are going to see that are the people who go to your profile and look at it. And guess what? Once you've posted a few more posts, it's not a perfect 9-piece square anymore. So, it might have seemed cool at the time, but doing that is terrible. It's actually terrible for your algorithm. Another thing that is very important is making use of your Instagram stories and your Instagram live stream. Now, I personally don't live stream often. I probably should more often. I've live streamed in the past, like when I was on the radio or when I was doing certain things. I personally don't like to be the guy who's doing this while my beat machine is playing and going. That's just not me personally. So I don't do a lot of live streaming. I should do more with engaging and compelling content, but I do make a lot of use of my Instagram stories. And Instagram stories are great for a variety of reasons. One, if you post stories often, that tells Instagram's artificial intelligence that you're probably not a spam account. Because, you know, while it's easy for spam accounts to make posts, very few spam accounts post stories because most spam accounts are automated somehow, and doing stories requires a little bit of human touch. Stories are great because I may run across things throughout my day that I want to show to people, but I may not necessarily want taking up space in my actual profile. And I say that to say that, like, when a stranger who's never heard of me or, you know, just now found me on Instagram, when they surf into my profile, I don't want them to be overwhelmed with too much content. You know, we are content driven, but too much of it and too much content and content that is not targeted enough to what you're trying to do can actually be a little off-putting, you know, to some people. Like, you know, I mean, if I see a person and, you know, Instagram's only been out for like 5 years, 6 years, and if you have 150,000 posts, that tells me like you're just posting anything and everything without vetting it to see if it's going to be compelling for me to look at or not. Okay, so, but with stories, they're great because they disappear the next day. Unlike my regular Instagram posts, which are subject to algorithmic approval, your stories have a much better chance of being seen by a larger chunk of your followership. So if I post 1 or 2 stories a day, that's content that my people can follow, that's not clogging up my main feed, and that disappears in a day or 2. So, you know, I don't ever have to worry about it again. Live streaming is good because your followers get a notification that you just went live. I think I don't watch a lot of live streams because people abuse it with, you know, with dumb content. You know, when they just go to the club and go live of the people in the club, like, who really goes and gets popcorn and sits down and watches you at the club? Okay, so let's look at a few of the hurdles that I'm currently facing in trying to get this show out to my audience and to a new audience. The problem I'm kind of faced with, the main dilemma at the moment, is ultimately I need people to watch this show on YouTube. I need them to watch it on YouTube because my YouTube streams are monetized. But YouTube is the new television for all intents and purposes. So traction and viewership on YouTube is worth more in the long run than it is on Facebook, or it is on Instagram, or it is on Twitter. So ultimately, I want people to watch the show on YouTube. But here's the problem. I don't have a huge following on YouTube at the moment. You know, I have around, I think, 300 subscribers. So ultimately, I need to use my other social networks, Instagram, Facebook, where I do have a good following. I need to use those networks to tell people about my show. But here's the problem. Those networks are all competitors. That's why you can't have live links inside your Instagram posts. You ever wonder why you can only have your link in your bio? That's because Instagram does not want you providing opportunities to your followers for them to click away from Instagram. Because the second they click on that YouTube video, guess what? They're on YouTube now. And there may be another suggested video that comes up next that they decide to watch. For whatever reason, they just left Instagram. And Instagram does not want you to leave Instagram. So that's why you can only paste links in your bio. If I paste my YouTube link directly into my Facebook page, which sounds like a good idea because ultimately I'm trying to drive people over to YouTube to watch the show, but not so fast because Facebook's algorithms are going to suppress my YouTube link if it's just a raw YouTube link. It's not going to be seen by the same amount of people. Unless I pay to sponsor the post, a very small percentage of my audience is going to actually see it. Okay, now on the flip side of that equation, if I upload my video directly to Facebook, you know, bypassing YouTube, just uploading my video to Facebook, Facebook is then going to prioritize my post because it's contained within their servers. And if people watch my post, you know, the only suggested thing that's going to come up is another Facebook video. So if I upload it directly to Facebook, I will get priority in terms of my audience seeing it. But those views aren't monetized. I don't see a dime off of that. It's cool to go home and pat myself on the back and be like, you know, How to Be Rich When You're Not Famous episode 2 last week got, you know, 1,500 something views in the first day. Like, I can pat myself on the back and feel good about that, but I don't make any money off that, and I can't use Facebook traction quite the same as I can use YouTube traction in terms of, you know, building my brand. And Instagram is the same way. If I take a clip of the video, dump it to my phone, and upload it directly to Instagram, as long as I'm staying within the 10 for 10 rule, and you know, not posting it at off-peak times, or, you know, not making any of the mistakes we discussed earlier, then yeah, I'll get a lot of views on that post. But I don't get any money for that. So it's been a little bit of a catch-22 for me, and you know, we're only on week 3 of this show, so we still have time to do this, and I was very realistic with myself as soon as we started, in that, like, I knew, you know, we probably wouldn't get any real traction, you know, until episode 10 or 15. And my job is to continuously drop a new episode each week for the people who are tuning in, and hope it makes a funnel cloud. But it's a little bit of a catch-22, because, you know, more people are watching How to Be Rich When You're Not Famous on Facebook and on Instagram than they are on YouTube. Like, I think my first 2 episodes only have about a little less than 100 views a piece on YouTube. You know, that's nothing I can take to the bank. So I'm constantly trying to do things to remind people, hey, this is available on YouTube. Like, every time I post How to Be Rich When You're Not Famous on my Facebook feed, in the comments section, where algorithms don't care about the comments section, really. Aside from the fact that, you know, the more comments a post gets, the higher it will be bumped up in priority. Aside from that, the comments section doesn't really care, you know, what you post. So when I post this video on Facebook, the first thing I'm going to do is go in the comments and say, hey, please subscribe on YouTube so you can never miss an episode. I try to sell it to people like, you know, make sure you never miss it. And I've picked up some new YouTube subscribers in the last few weeks, but, you know, ultimately this is an uphill battle to try to drive people over to YouTube, where the views are monetized and I can get paid off of that. But it's hard, you know, it's like treading water. You know, it's not easy, because, you know, Facebook, Instagram, every network is going to prioritize their own before they're going to prioritize links that belong to a competitor. So even, you know, I say all this like I'm a master of algorithms, and I feel like I do understand it a little more than the average person. But even I'm fighting this stuff to try to get my show out to people who were not familiar with it. And it's an uphill battle, and as I go, I'm going to uncover and learn new ways to try to direct people to YouTube. I'm going to constantly be suggesting it. The link in my bio will be the YouTube link. And I don't really have any other answers for it aside from, you know, building an audience and, you know, making money off of it is hard. It's tough. If you got into this, you have accepted that. So, you know, I'm not going to cry or complain about it. I'm just going to keep working to find new ways to direct people over to my YouTube channel. So we will definitely be coming back for a part 2 and probably a part 3 or 4 of this series. But this is some good basic information that I feel like will get you started and at least identify some of the mistakes you might be making up to this point. That's about it for today, man. Feel free to leave a comment below as long as it's not stupid. Be sure and hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode, and we will see you next week.